Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3, where we discuss the malignant narcissist in the 2020 film, The Invisible Man. And, turd is the word, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation trial is almost at an end. Let's get into it. Dear listeners, just when you thought that it couldn't get any worse, it's about to get funnier. Sincerely, Tactless.
I'm Sasha. I'm a girl with a warm heart, and I'm already sick of your shit, so don't try me. But I still love you.
I'm Tony. I'm a frustrated musician who will tell you to your face, being a dog mom is not a thing.
Hi, I'm Lizzie. I'm the tiny lady marmalade that holds this turd sandwich together.
You know, I guess we should say that there will be spoilers because we're not going to hold back.
Yeah. If for some reason you want to watch it, stop this now. Go watch the movie and then come back because we're totally going to ruin it for you in about 3 seconds, maybe.
Absolutely. So we watched the 2020 remake of The Invisible Man with, what's her name, Elizabeth Moss, which surprisingly we all liked it, right? I mean, that was that was good.
Yeah.
You guys watch a lot of horror films at all? Because I do not.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I do sometimes, but more so for comedic entertainment than anything else. And I don't know if anyone else is like this, but horror movies have gotten so predictable that I'll watch them just because it's funny to see how it's like someone just trying too hard to be cool, you know, and it's just comical for me. But to be completely honest, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it was really well done. Honestly, I mean, to do a remake and modernize it the way they did, I think they really did a really good job with it.
Yeah. What do you think, Sash?
I thought it was interesting. There was a lot of, I know it was like a sci-fi-ish kind of story, but there was a lot of elements of truth to it in the relational aspect of it and in how someone would react after being abused or, like the trauma that causes and then the healing process afterwards. And so that really struck me more than, the special effects and all of that, I think.
They really hit the right balance, right? Like it was legitimately, this is an abused woman. And then legitimately, this was a really good horror flick, like, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. And yeah, I don't know have you guys seen the original Invisible Man? I think it was like 1939 or something like that.
No, I didn't either.
The original premise was that he injected himself with something that turned him invisible. And it was like a science experiment gone wrong, essentially. But he was also a jerk. But it wasn't like to this level, you know what I mean? But he was also like a really tortured soul. So updating it with the suit and, all this stuff and like giving her such agency in the movie too was really cool to see. The film starts, she's escaping, right? And she's like in the dead of night, and that was kind of trippy. You guys want to talk about what you felt about that?
Yeah, it was interesting because she had to plan everything just right. She had to make sure he was out. She had to make sure the cameras weren't going to see her. She had to be quiet. She had to take what she needed. You could just see the terror in her that she just wanted to get out, and how scary it would have been to do something like that.
I think it was interesting that she was, very meticulously going through and gathering all these things. You could tell that she had prepped for this, but I think it was almost interesting to watch back and forth of her preparing and walking around and gathering her things and her boyfriend basically just sleeping in bed. Like he didn't do anything, but yet you could almost feel all of her fear and that she was afraid of someone who wasn't even awake, which I think whoever had the hand in directing all of this and putting the movie together must have had some kind of experience with an abusive relationship, because it's totally like that. Even if the person is literally doing nothing, you're scared to death the whole time that they will. Her watching constantly on the phone, on her phone, watching the security camera, trained on him in bed to see if he's going to move or wake up or anything. And she's just like shaking the whole time. I think that speaks a lot to just the stress level that you operate on when you're in a relationship like that. It's like if 100 is your max, you're at 95 the rest of the time, and then you bump up to 100 when something does happen, but you're just constantly there. So I really think they nailed it with that. That whole sequence was good. And then by the time she gets to her sister's car and he runs up to the car, oh man, it just comes to fruition. All that scared energy and all of that nervousness that she has and all that stuff just blows up at that moment in a really good way. Because at first I was like, oh, he's not even gonna find her, she's running through the woods. But then you think, if you're a malignant narcissist, nothing is off limits. You're gonna do anything you possibly can to get to this person and hurt them. And that just demonstrated it within the first, 20 minutes of the movie.
Agreed. It was interesting how they kind of built up to it, right? There's like, he's asleep. Okay. And you would be like, yeah, he's asleep. She's going to get out fine. And then it's like, oh, shoot, she's got to do the computers. And now she's going to do this and sneak out through the garage and, all this. And she doesn't even care that she dropped a bottle of pills, like she's just getting the hell out of there. And then when he breaks the window, you're like, oh man, yeah, this was founded. Like all these precautions were so founded.
The fact that he can hoof it after her, run through the woods, and then bust open a window like that was a lot. And then, not to steal your thunder here, but when she gets past that point and she's away from him, her just general fear of anything, like she didn't even want to go outside the house. Totally get that. If he can do all of that, of course he's going to be waiting for her, he's going to be following her, he's going to be doing whatever. So she's just operating at this fear and stress level that's just seems insane to most people. It really does. Probably seems like she's just being ridiculous and overreacting, but once you see what he's capable of, you're like, oh damn, yeah, no, I get it, that was warranted.
Just when you've been in those situations, you understand and you feel it, and it does get into your head to a place where it's that filter through which everything flows, and it takes a lot to get rid of that and to normalize yourself again. So I get that. I felt that part of it too.
She gets the news that he's dead pretty quickly after that, right? It was kind of crazy. I was curious too what you guys thought of when she found out that he had left her money.
Yeah, I was surprised, honestly. I mean, I didn't see that coming. It was kind of a weird curveball, but I was kind of anticipating something happening where he was going to try to control the money too, which, it did have stipulations on it. It was something that, she got a total sum, but it was only released in payments, every month or whatever it was, or every week. I don't remember what it was, but I was also like, oh yeah, well, he left her money, but he's also controlling how she gets it and when she gets it. And his brother kind of glossed over the stipulations, but there were stipulations to it. It wasn't just, I'm leaving you this money and that's it. He even had all of these things written out in his will that she was going to get only specific amounts or whatever. So I was kind of like, yeah, no, that's how they are. They can't just leave anything. They have to control something even afterwards. They have to feel like they're winning or they're in control somehow. I mean, that is the narcissistic way. They have to be on top.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, if I can screw you by dying, I will do it.
Right.
anything to control. That's their main goal in your life, is just to control all aspects of it and to isolate you. And I saw it that way too, that the money was no different. There was going to be some kind of condition with it.
Yeah, and that's, that's the way of any narcissistic relationships. Everything is conditional. There is no real love there, but anything that you get that looks like affection or attention is always conditional on how you act and what you're doing and all of that kind of stuff. So, just carries on in death now. She gets money, but only if she meets these requirements. Like, he didn't want her to make her feel like she was away from him.
Totally. And I'm going to totally spoil my favorite part. I think I told you guys about this. When she realizes that he is invisible somehow and in the house, and she's up in the attic with the paint, and you just know he's got to be on that ladder up to the attic, right? He's got to be there. And you're like waiting for it. You're like, how is he going to be revealed? Obviously. Oh, shoot. She's going to throw paint on it. But they just somehow get the moment right enough that it still scares the hell out of you, even though he's there.
I love that part. It's so well done. And it's a split second thing that you even see the paint covering the form of a person, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not, sitting on the edge of your seat with your face glued to your TV, you can miss it. But it's just enough to be like, oh shit, that we're all right. Yeah, no, that's him. That part is so well done. I really liked that. And it was one of those things where when you're watching a horror thriller movie and the person in the movie does what you would think to do because it's logical, hats off to them for that. There's a reason that stupid Geico commercial where they hide behind all the chainsaws instead of driving away in the car rings true with everybody, because they're that cheesy. Most of them are just like, really, there's the thing right there, and you could have, this was just so well produced. I really like that part too. I mean, I do have to admit, the OCD in me was like, she just made a huge mess in this dude's house, and then when I got home, I'd be pissed. But for the right reasons. She did pour paint all over the place for a good cause. What about you, Sasha? Where's your head at?
Well, the part I was just thinking about too is how everyone thought she was nuts. And like, when you're in a narcissistic relationship, you feel like you're crazy. Like they gaslight you to the point where you question your own reality, and you're just like, I don't even know what's real anymore. Like,
Absolutely.
Like, that part of it really got through to me too, because I felt crazy. I felt like the crazy one, but I wasn't. So, no one believed her, and then they saw it, and then they did believe her. She was right. He was the one that was after her the whole time.
I think what really got me was the scene where she finally gets her sister to sit down and talk with her at the restaurant, and she's just going to spill it all. She knows what's going on now. And then her sister gets killed. And I almost felt her anguish in that moment. Like, you're going to finally have somebody who gets it, somebody who understands where you are and that you're not nuts, and then they're gone. That's part of that whole dynamic, is when they isolate you, when they gaslight you to the point where you think you're crazy. It is the loneliest place you could be. There is no one there for you. There's no one getting it. There's no one who thinks that you're justified. So you just feel alone in a crowded room like she was. There was tons of people around, and she was the only one who knew what really was going on. And just that whole scene was kind of hit me like that too. She was just all by herself again. Sorry if I'm hopping around too much there. But
no, that was
we're progressing through the story.
Yeah, thinking about it too. Yeah, that was her ally. He was like, I'm going to isolate you. That's what I'm going to do, because I'm alienated her friend that let her stay at his house, alienated his daughter.
I did not see that coming either.
Yeah.
Where she's talking to the daughter, and then he hits the daughter, but the daughter thinks it was her.
Mm-hmm.
I did not see that coming. All the interactions that he had as an invisible person were like he would turn up the stove, or he would open the door, or move something kind of out of where everybody was, at least for the most part. But that was like a big, I'm in the room and I just, kick this girl in the face or whatever he did. I didn't see that coming at all.
That's what added some interest to it. Cause like you didn't see the slap coming or like whatever he did to her. You didn't see, they kind of gave you a hint that he was going to do something with the stove because they showed you the breakfast cooking and stuff. So you got that a little bit. But yeah, like a lot of that, well, even the sister, yeah, that was shocking as heck. I think I glanced away for a second. And it was one of those things where I was like, oh shoot, what happened? What did I miss? That's the interesting thing of the craft though. Yeah. And like you were saying, it's so symbolic, of a real relationship like this, whether they, physically hurt your loved ones or not. I mean, they're going to isolate you one way or another.
Yeah.
Totally. And
what about when she like comes into her own? She's like, look, I'm just going to deal with this. What did you guys think of that?
Yeah, I thought it was really relatable. Like I mentioned earlier, that healing process that you go through, and you either let it break you or you let it make you stronger. And she chose the latter and was like, I'm not going to let this person control me and get the best of me. And I'm going to get you at this same game. In fact, actually. So that's what she did. And she beat him. It was pretty crazy.
I think the moment I realized she was taking matters into her own hands to accomplish something, I was so on board. At that point, you're like invested in her character in the movie because all of this terrible crap has been happening to her. She finds out that even though she had thought she was taking birth control, that he had gotten her pregnant, and she was just like, I think that's the tipping point. She was like, not another person going through this. And I totally get that. In my personal situation, I have 2 kids with the person that I was in a relationship with. And that's how I felt. Like, to me, you can do a certain amount of terrible things or say horrible things to me, but when it's a defenseless child, that's when the shit gets real. And that's when I pull out all the stops, because they have nobody. They are underdeveloped. They are so vulnerable to all of that it just pierces you to your core to think about somebody taking advantage of something like that. And I think that's what really, as a personal experience kind of thing, that's what really got to me. And I was just so stoked when she does the part in the shower where she's gonna cut her own wrist. She's like, you don't get either of us, because she knows he's there, but she wants him to show himself. So she starts stabbing him with the pen, and then the suit starts malfunctioning so you can kind of see him. That was so great. I love that part. And then despite him at that point revealing himself, because he kind of doesn't have a choice, and then taking out all those security guards and stuff, and she's running after him. She grabs one of their guns and runs after him. I'm like, hell yeah, that's what I do. Take the fight to them at that point. They don't have the element of surprise anymore. You can tip the scales at this point. And that was it's beautiful, to see somebody come from just a beaten down state where she was afraid of her own shadow in the beginning to, I'm going to run out of this place. I don't know if I can see this guy or not, but we're going to figure this out. And I'm going to put a stop to it. That's huge. A lot of people never get to that point in a relationship. Even if you haven't seen the movie, even though we're ruining it for you, go watch it anyway. Maybe even having this commentary will help you kind of wade through parts of the movie, but it really says a lot. If you've ever been in any kind of relationship like that, it almost triggers some of your PTSD if you have it, when some of the stuff that he says, but it's so vindicating to see somebody go after their abuser and take the fight back to them. I'm not going to get into the end yet, but that's as far as I'll take it for now. The end's going to be a whole other conversation for us. We'll get there.
You want to add anything, Sasha?
How did you feel when you realized that she was taking the fight to him and she starts stabbing him and cursing at him, and all that anger just comes out? Did you relate? Did you feel it?
I did, because I went through that. I was that timid little fearful person, and then I empowered myself I armed myself. I took self-defense classes. I did all that. If the person I was with ever came back and tried to do something to me, I wouldn't be that same person. I wouldn't be that fearful little victim anymore. I would whoop some ass.
Right.
Rightfully so.
Yeah,
Right.
I related to that a lot. Just that flip in her, because that happened with me too. And now, like, I don't even recognize the person that I was before because I'm so different. I hope that's the case for everybody that goes through something like that they can empower themselves and find themselves again and get strong instead of letting that define the rest of their life.
Absolutely. I just found myself realizing that I had a big smile on my face when she was just going at it with him. I was like, yeah, that's when you do it.
Yeah.
All right. And then the ending. So we find out that, all along, he's been alive. Oh my gosh. Surprise, surprise.
Locked in a basement somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, the basement thing totally too, right? Like he was taking the lie even further than you thought he would, because I guess we have to backtrack just a tiny bit. The invisible man ends up being in her friend's house, beating up her friend and her friend's daughter. She shows up with the gun and kills this guy, pulls the mask of the suit off, and finds out it's not her ex-boyfriend, it's his brother in the suit. And at that point, they go to raid his house, I guess, and find out that he was locked in the basement, which I think adds another level of that gaslighting thing, because the next scene is she's talking to her police friend and telling him, no, this isn't right. He did this. I know he did this. And if he faked his own death and did all this other stuff, he could totally fake being tied up in his own basement by his brother. He let his brother take the fall for him, so he gets off scot-free. And her police friend not believing her was something that got to me. But this time, you see the confidence in her. You see that she's like, hey, I know you don't believe me, but this is true, and I know it's true. And that's the point that you need to get, stepping back. If you're in a relationship like that, that is what a narcissist will do, is make you question what is actually true. That's what gaslighting is. You'll question what you see and what you know, to the point where you have no idea which direction is up. But she knew at that point what was true, and she was adamant about it, which I think is big, for somebody not only to come back and fight her aggressor like the way she did, but to not fall back into that trap of, I don't know if this really is true or not. She was holding on to what she knew and what she believed at that point. And I think that was a big deal. I just hijacked your whole narrative, so this is not my show. You can take it back.
Oh, thank you. I kind of counted on you to remember the plot a little bit better.
Yeah.
I did, full disclosure, I did end up watching the movie twice because I liked it that much. So that probably helps.
It's a good point too. Like, yeah, she didn't cave. She wasn't like, oh, he's still alive and I still have to care for him or whatever. She's like, no, this dude is bad news, and that's what it is. This is it.
Yep.
And then she put on her pretty black dress, went over to the house, played it super cool. Like, oh yeah, we're getting back together. Everything's great. Oh, excuse me, I need to go use the bathroom. I'll be right back. And then
Oh, that part was so beautiful to me. Not only that she used his suit against him the same way that he did to her sister, she made it look on camera like he cut his own throat. And then she shows up and plays the whole thing up and calls the police, and she's crying and everything. And then I love when she steps out of the camera view from the security camera at the house, and she just looks at him with a straight face. And it's at that point that she's telling him, I know it was you. This is what you get. And it's all over. She says, surprise. That was beautiful. If you ever want to feel like you've won in a narcissistic relationship, that movie will make you feel like you won. Because in in the real world here, where we don't have invisible suits to cut people's throats, and murder's illegal, and it's not something we're gonna do. That does, give you some kind of that feeling, like, oh man, somebody did it. Well, I feel good. I even thought, like, at the end there, it was almost ironic that she like took on some of the characteristics of her boyfriend to go ahead and end him. So he was being beaten by something that he was doing. He was doing the invisible suit thing. He did the same thing to her sister, and she used that to take him down. And I thought that was kind of a good brushstroke of irony on there. I love a bit of irony.
I mean, accurate use of irony. Go buy your own dang suit.
Right?
That's what you get. He started it. I mean,
yeah, I know. He kind of asked for it. I mean, you invent the invisible suit and then you go on a homicidal mania. Something's going to happen to you, bro.
Yeah. People aren't going to put up with that for too long.
No. Hey. Yeah. As long as you don't murder your ex or anything like that.
Yeah, don't do anything illegal.
Yeah.
Just have a movie night and watch this. Feel a little bit better by yourself. And if you're really thinking about doing something seriously, go to therapy. That helps more than anything else.
yeah.
But the movies do help. I just love a good revenge story.
Yeah. It was so good. Well, we'll switch gears now to the turd trial. I mean, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial. You guys might be interested to know. We took a Twitter poll, and 94% of the folks that responded said that Johnny Depp is going to win the lawsuit, and 6% said Amber.
Overwhelming.
Right? I know. Kind of interesting. I mean, albeit it was in the middle of her testimony because she's still testifying, but still, I mean.
Yeah.
I think this whole thing is going to be huge for a lot of people that are in abusive relationships too. To be able to see somebody in the public arena that's getting a win, it's huge. Usually when it comes to, being in a relationship with somebody that's that nuts, that has these personality disorders, that causes them to do things you wouldn't even think of doing, like take a crap in your bed and then leave. It's so helpful to see that there is still justice. There's still people there's still people who see it for what it is. I think that's going to be big. I think it's going to empower a lot of other people to be like, maybe I see some things that are unfolding that remind me of my partner or somebody that I know, and I need to get the hell away from this person because they're toxic in my life. I think that's going to be huge. And the point of all this too is just to show people these people are the way they are, and to have one of them even admit that something is wrong is like winning the Powerball jackpot. You could hope for it all you want, but those numbers aren't going to come. You have more of a chance of getting struck by lightning. Recognizing it for what it is and getting away from it is the key. You don't want to be around it. You don't want to be immersed in it at all. Just run.
And also, it's not just men on women. Like, you can't say all abuse is a man on woman abuse. Like, it happens all the time. Just men don't report it because they're like, oh, I'm a dude. I'm not going to report it. Like, why didn't you report yours?
Oh, for sure. It was the same thing for me. Are you really going to, as a man, call the police and say that your partner hit you or whatever's going on? You feel like no one's going to take it seriously. There's so many jokes about it for that reason, that men just don't bring that stuff up. We don't talk about it. And I think that it's, maybe going to be helpful in that respect too, for some men to stand up and be like, hey, my wife or my girlfriend or whoever is being abusive to me. And it's a thing, Yeah, women can be just as violent and heinous as anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or what. They could be just as vindictive. And having been raised as someone who is told all the time, you don't strike a woman, you don't beat women, you don't do this kind of stuff. I wouldn't retaliate, and I would get hit and all sorts of things and not do anything back. It's kind of sad that you also don't, you not only don't defend yourself, but you don't even report anything. You don't say anything happened. You just move on. And that's kind of scary to think about in hindsight. But props to Johnny for being real. The dude is unloading a lot of personal stuff in a very public arena. People know a lot more about his life than probably any of his closest friends did. Because I know when you're in the situation like that, you don't really share a whole lot with people. But, I got to hand it to him for that. The dude is got his own issues, but,
he is a drug user. He's an alcoholic, probably, but she takes pictures of him passed out all the time. It doesn't, and like the videos she has of him, he's like not attacking her, and usually he's just like falling asleep somewhere. She's the aggressive one. It appears to be that way. I mean, I'm not sure, but it just kind of,
you can kind of tell his mannerisms and everything though too. Doesn't seem like a very confrontational guy. He really does seem like the guy who, he might use drugs or drink alcohol as almost an escape, because I think a lot of people do it to numb their emotions if they feel too much. And maybe he, was just in a place where he just felt so shitty that he wanted to go to sleep for 2 days. I get it, but he clearly doesn't come across as an aggressor, and you can kind of tell Amber gets, you can see she gets pissed, that look. If they say something or, camera cuts to her and you see that look in her eye and you're like, oh shit, yeah, she's mad. That's the tip of the iceberg there. That's what causes that aggression, is that anger, that shame that she feels she's going to lash out. It
was interesting. They interviewed their marriage therapist. I only watched part of it because, this whole thing has been like a circus, but
that poor person.
Yeah, craziness. But she did bring up the fact that it seemed like it was a point of pride for Amber to like initiate the conflict when she felt like she was being slighted or, someone was being disrespectful to her. She's like, I'm going to go on the offensive here and I'm going to take you down, kind of a thing. And also the fact that she probably brought out, like you said, Johnny's probably normally pretty mild-mannered, but it seemed like maybe this violent side of him had remained dormant until he met the right firecracker, to kind of light it. I mean,
when you're gaslighted constantly, it makes you that way. I'm a pretty calm person, and I was pushed to my limit multiple times where I would raise my voice in a way I had never done in my life. And I wanted to like smack something. I wouldn't have ever hit anybody, but they frustrate you to that point where you can't handle it. And you act like somebody else, not even you. And that's their intention, is to get a reaction out of you that's intense. So then they can point the finger at you, even though they've been doing that to you, weeks and weeks and weeks. It's that one moment when you snap that they're like, oh, look, you did that. Like you got so mad, and, and then they throw it in your face and hold it over your head. And they know what they're doing. They do that to you on purpose. And when she took the video of him in the kitchen that day, I feel like she had probably been gaslighting him and then magically turned her iPad on when he was reacting, so she could have that little snippet of evidence against him.
Oh, yeah. She prepped that.
I mean, that's how it seems. I wasn't there. I can't tell you for sure, but if I had to speculate, I would say based on her behavior and her attitude that that's probably how it went down that day. And of course he was upset, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, you back even a nice person into a corner where they feel like they got no out and something bad's gonna happen. You know, you feel like you're out of options.
Yeah. And the poop was not dog poop. She saw, oh, is this dog pooped in the bed? The dog is like this big, it's really small. It's like that dog didn't make a big old turd like that. That was you, girl. Like, you're nasty.
That's the other thing is, even at this point, someone who instigated, someone who knew that they crossed the line, knew that they did something, is going to be the person that tries to still deny it. She's going to still be trying to explain things away, trying to deny the truth. And I think that's a huge red flag as it is. You know, just look at who is trying to be open and look at who is even saying things that might be taken as incriminating to themselves almost. The way that Johnny was admitting some of the stuff that he was doing, you know, and she's not going to get to that level because deep down she knows he's right, and she's just trying to do damage control at this point.
She doesn't want to look bad, it doesn't matter what the truth is. It's all about the appearance and the reputation and all of that with her.
Yeah.
I was curious too. What did you guys think about the fact that, so he's obviously worth a lot more than she is, right? And his losses in this were pretty substantial. And she is suing him, therefore, for double what he's suing her for.
That's just everything that's wrong with the court system. The fact that you can even do that is just stupid to me.
Well, and it speaks to her narcissism. Oh, you're going to come after me for that? I'm going to come after you for double that. That's how they are. You do even one little perceived wrong, even if you don't even intentionally do something, they're going to get you back at least double. Like they're going to, because how dare you do something like that to them? You don't even cross them, whether they have it coming or not. It doesn't matter. You don't do that.
Yeah.
So that's the way I saw it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's just, you know, it's like a little kid when you think about it, you know, boil it down. It's, oh, well, you know, you did this to me. Well, I'm going to do it twice to you. You did this to me. I'm going to do a double for you. It's like they have that emotional maturity level of a little kid who just wants to get their way and doesn't want anybody to ever do anything to them, or else, you know, we all knew the kid who, man, they could play a board game, and if they were winning, they were like, in your face, I got it. And the second that they stopped winning, it changed, right? And they would get pissed. I mean, who didn't play a game like that as a little kid? Yeah, they tossed the board over or whatever. This is the same thing, just on an adult level that I'm seeing.
When you play video games with them and you're winning, when they're winning, you're happy for them, right? But then when you're winning, they take their controller and throw it, and they give up and they don't want to play with you anymore, even when they're grown. So just an FYI.
Sounds like a personal experience that you had there.
I'm very good at Madden. I'm sorry. I like so there's that.
She is. She's really good at Madden.
I'm not sorry at all.
Hey, you know what? Shouldn't be sorry for being good at something.
No,
but that's how they are.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. If that's your experience, look out for that one. For sure. It's not just, oh, they're a sore loser. It's like a whole other level.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who's, out of elementary school and still acting like that has got a problem. Like, if you haven't learned to be a gracious loser, or to, you know, be happy for somebody that you're supposed to love and be in a relationship with, be happy for their success, that just has red flag all over it. I mean, come on. Don't ever try to explain it away. Like, oh, they're just a sore loser. They're not very good at a lot of things, so they get upset. No, that's not it.
Yeah. And never
make them accountable.
Yourself either. Yeah. Like, never take that and lower yourself and be like, oh, well, I can't be up here because that's gonna upset them. You be at the level that you want to be. You strive for whatever level you want to be at. Don't let that affect you in that way, because it did that to me. And that's so unhealthy. Kind of off subject a little bit, but
Dr.
That's
Sasha's
relevant.
in house.
Yeah.
I'm being very loving today. I'm not being hateful today. So
You're not being a hater?
No,
No.
love hater.
maybe not at least today. I tried to watch some of it today. I think I just turned it on towards the end of the day. And there was a young woman that was representing Johnny Depp. Amber Heard was on the stand and she was asking her questions. And she started off a little bit timid, not super confident as an attorney. And then as the questioning went on, you could see her getting a little fiery, and it was good in a good way. It wasn't like she was attacking her. She was getting flustered. She just knew that she was onto something. And there was a point when she asked her about that divorce settlement. Johnny Depp had to pay Amber $7 million. Amber said, I don't want any of your money. I'm going to donate all of it. Half to a children's hospital, half to the, what is it?
ACLU. Yeah.
So she says that. And then the attorney goes, so to date, have you paid that? And then Amber keeps saying, I've pledged the full amount. I've pledged it. Yes, I pledged the full amount. And she's like, no, that's not my question. Did you pay it? And she kept over and over and over again. She did. And she's like, it's not the same thing. And she's like, well, to me, it's the same thing. When you buy a house, you don't pay all the money up front. You just pay your down payment. And then she tried to use some stupid analogy, and the attorney just kept getting at her until she got her to admit that no, she had not paid all of that money. And then her excuse was, I got sued, so that's why I didn't donate the money. And she said, you've had that money for 13 months before you were brought to court. And she got her so good, I was just like, man, she's never going to admit that she's wrong with this. Like, it's not going to happen. But the attorney approached it in such a way that she would pause at the right times for emphasis, where Amber would say something and you would sit there and think about it like, oh, really? That's what you think? I don't agree with you at all. But it was pretty interesting how she got her, and she kind of got her a little heated too. Amber was getting a little frustrated towards
wow.
Yeah, she's pulling the covers off, and because Amber probably wanted to make it look like she was donating the money, and at the end of the day, she would just keep it.
Yeah. And then we're talking about Elon Musk donated some money that went towards her pledge. That wasn't even her money. And the whole time Amber's looking at the jury every time she talks, and it just comes off as so insincere. It makes you wonder what the jury thinks about her. I'm curious to hear what their ruling is going to be.
Same. Well, and we've talked about this off podcast. Her team is obnoxious.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't know. They would bug me if I was sitting in that jury pool. I'd be like, yeah, I can't stand this lady. Whatever she's asking for, she's not getting.
Yeah, and that has to wear on you. You think you're sitting in that courtroom for how many hours a day, and you're listening to these people objecting to their own questions. That one with the irritating, grating voice, the older one.
Yeah.
I would just not like her, and I would probably have a bias because of that. I think those poor people have to sit there and listen all day long. And I listened maybe to an hour of it, and I was already done. I couldn't do it anymore.
I'd be asleep in my chair. I'm sorry. If it was just like them, talking about whatever, if it wasn't that interesting. I also have the gift where I could fall asleep pretty easily, but man, I would not be able to stay with it. That'd be rough.
Do we know the demographics of the jury?
Not at all. Yeah.
How many were men or women or ages, or because how do you pick a jury to go against Johnny Depp? I mean,
all men. I'm kidding. All straight men that don't know who he is. I'm sorry.
Well, a lot of people know who he is, and we've all grown up watching his movies, from Edward Scissorhands and of course, Jack Sparrow. And I would think it would be a little bit difficult. He's never been in any kind of trouble before. It's not like he goes around driving drunk or, anything like that. It just makes you wonder what people are thinking that are the ones that are going to make the decision. They're going to make the call, because she obviously had an effect on his career when, she obviously did. You can't deny that from publishing that article. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Well, and it was interesting too. I read an article there. A lot of folks are worried that this is going to do harm now for female victims as well. They're going to think that they're not being believed or something like that, because she's setting a bad precedent, isn't she?
Right.
Like, she's just, yeah, maybe he did hit her. I don't know. I'm not on the jury, thank goodness. But the fact that she was the aggressor, obviously, in many of these instances, to great bodily harm to him.
It makes you really sad, because I've been in that situation on the receiving end. And to hear someone fabricating things because they were the aggressor, it kind of infuriates me. And that's why I take it a little bit personally. I think that she's doing that, and it really bothers me, because she thinks because she's a woman that she can get away with this. And she told him, "What are you going to do, Johnny? You're going to go to people and say you're a victim?" And he was like, "Yes." And she was mocking him, saying, "No one's going to believe you over me. There's no way. They're going to think I'm the one that's being abused, not you."
Mm-hmm.
And to have that be her thought process is horrible for all the women that have been on the receiving end. And it's really bad, because how many people are going to be questioned now because of her? It is upsetting.
Yeah, she set us back, 50 years at least, right? I mean, that's not great.
Yeah, it's terrible. I just hope that people can see these red flags and these warning signs, have more maybe this trial will bring more awareness to that condition, and to not get into a relationship with a person like that to begin with. I mean, I guess that's the change we can hope for in the positive way, rather than bringing detriment to us. And I guess I'm trying to be optimistic a little bit.
Yeah, hoping. Well, and it's funny because we watched the skit on SNL over the weekend and they called it a cuckoo trial. But I think, like you said, it's the benefit. The more people are tuning into this too, right? They're seeing this, they're hearing, like, this is madness. I mean, it is like, sitting on the outside of this relationship, you're like, why were they together? And it turns out they were together a couple of years before they even got married. So this was cuckoo pants before the wedding. It's like they should never have been in this relationship. It just, hopefully somebody seeing this will be like, oh my gosh, this is my husband, or this is my wife, or whatever, get the heck out.
I hope so. And if you don't know a whole lot about narcissism, look up Dr. Ramani. She's excellent at explaining things in a simple and understandable way. And I've learned a lot from watching her videos on YouTube. So a little plug for her.
We'll put her in our notes for the episode, definitely.
Yeah, especially if you're dating, she gives you a lot of things to look for, even in the beginning of a relationship with a person, so that you can avoid things like that before you start getting feelings for the person and you get blinded, because it's easy for that to happen. So just want to be careful there.
I've watched so many of her videos. She's like my sensei.
Wonderful. She's really great. And you can tell she's been through it herself. So it holds even more weight because of that. Yeah, between her own channel and then some of the Med Circle interviews that she's done, a lot of good content. And she puts out a video every day. I don't know how in the world she accomplishes this. Hats off to her. That's a hell of a lot of work behind the scenes. Put out one video every day of anything, to be honest. Yeah, for sure. If you have questions, she has specific videos on co-parenting or dating, or even if you know somebody who's been in a narcissistic relationship, how to approach that with them, which is huge, because there's some things that work and some things that just don't. So if you know somebody that's in a relationship like that, how to approach it. Don't just come guns blazing at them or anything like that, obviously, but there's a lot of good resources out there. And last but not least, I do want to plug the national hotline, 800-799-SAFE or 800-799-7233, or the hotline.org. If you're in a unsafe situation and you need help getting out, they'll help you get the resources to get out of there, because you don't need to stay. You can be safe and live a happy life. Yeah, and it is kind of scary at first because there's that unknown there, but if you are in a situation like that, please do reach out. It'll be the best decision you've ever made in your life. So I can tell you that firsthand. So please do. And to lighten the mood a little bit, we have gotten a promise from Tony. If we can get up, we're at like 116 followers right now on Twitter at Sincere Tactless. And if you guys can get us up to an even 200, Tony will write a song
about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. And probably some appropriate rhyming, I'm thinking too, right, Tony?
Yeah, it's guaranteed to go multi-platinum.
Absolutely.
So you could be on the ground floor of just a whole movement of a bowel movement. I don't know. I've already got the creative juices flowing. Don't let me down.
So tell your friends.
Yeah, please.
Tell your wife.
Tell your husbands, tell your kids, tell everybody. She's pooping on everything over here.
Hopefully we can get there so you all can hear something really funny. That's what we're going for.
Absolutely. And he is a legitimate artist. He wrote our intro music. So just in case you're wondering.
I know a couple things about a couple things. So it won't be terrible. If you agree with us or don't, or have a suggestion for an upcoming episode, we want to hear from you. Tweet at us at sinceretactless, email us at sincerelytactlesspod@gmail.com, or now you can even leave us a voice message at anchor.fm/sincerelytactless. And as always, drunk messages are encouraged. Thanks for riding with us on this crazy train and not losing your ugali. And until next time, stay poet, can you?